A century ago, after the awakening, spiritual energy became the most important energy in this world. With the increase of spiritual energy, beings evolved in two directions. One direction was a return to primal instincts, which increased physical energy. The other direction was spiritual mutation, which focused on energy attacks. People in this world also developed various spiritual energy professions within spiritual energy. Spiritual beast expert, 37 million subscribers. Spiritual material analyst, 39 million subscribers. Guy read the answers to the questions of these geniuses. For example, a guy wondered, what to do if you are bitten by a ghostly, shadowy, spiny spider? To which the expert replied that if you are a professional, you need a good spiritual being, and recommended ordering everything you need now for only $99,998, and then a person could get a super chance to own a premium treasure. In fact, it was just a native advertisement, where the so-called expert offered to buy something from him under the guise of answering questions. However, the white-haired guy who was lying on the bed thought that none of this mattered to him. It also said that not after being bitten by this spider, a person should not panic, drink more hot water, and rest in a ventilated room so that the body would not start to rot. The cat next to him began to complain that he was too hot. He reiterated once more for the guy that he was incredibly hot. The cat's name was Smart, and he was a subspecies of Baeksun beast. When Smart climbed on top of the guy's head, Lin Yuan inquired what Smart was doing. The cat admitted that he had heard that it was cooler where it was higher up. A slightly disgruntled Lin Yuan noted that Smart didn't go much higher. Then the cat reached for the window and tried to open it. At the same instant, a powerful wind blew into the room. The guy immediately moved away from the window, and the cat asked him to remember to take his medicine. Lin Yuan informed him that he knew about it. The white-haired guy's name is Lin Yuan. He is 18 years old, and he is the owner of a small store of spiritual beings. Although people in this world can use spiritual energy to promote the growth of beings, it all seems like a fantasy or fairy tale to him. Lin Yuan has been weak since he was a child. Starting from the age of 8, he couldn't sense the existence of spiritual energy at all, couldn't improve his physical form using spiritual energy like others. He couldn't contact high-level spiritual beings. Lin Yuan and Smart looked at the lily. This plant belonged to ordinary low-level spiritual beings. Lin Yuan regretfully noticed that using cloth to create shade still didn't work. The weather was too hot, and he was finding a good way to cool down the lily. Smart sadly noted that the lily had practically wilted already. Lin Yuan was well aware that as a lowest-level medicinal plant, it was too weak to survive on its own, and was even inferior to the green vine they used as fodder. In the world after the awakening of spiritual energy, all spiritual beings have differences in level and quality. All beings below the bronze level were considered low-level beings. Practically no one wanted to waste resources cultivating low-level spiritual beings, because compared to them, high-level spiritual beings evolved much easier. In addition, in the past 100 years, no one had ever heard of Baeksun beast's evolution. Just at this moment, Yin Yin, a subspecies of sound bird, flew up to him with a medicine in its beak. The guy thanked Yin Yin for his concern. With a body as weak as Lin Yuan's, signing a contract with low-level spiritual beings such as Smart and Yin Yin caused him to feel dizzy for half a month. So he could say little about his perception of the spiritual energy that contributed to their growth and level increase. A little while later, Lin Yuan and Smart were lazily bored in the store, being behind the counter and waiting for customers. Smart couldn't help but wonder if people really liked sleeping at home at this time of day and why the streets were so empty today. Looking at him unhappily, Lin Yuan remarked that he didn't understand what kind of nonsense he was talking about. The guy started shouting that the blue radishes were growing excellently today. He was trying to attract some customers. Just at that moment, a mother and her daughter passed by his store. The daughter noticed that there was a Baeksun beast in the shop, exactly the same as the cat she was holding in her arms. A strained smile appeared on Smart's muzzle as he greeted passers-by and asked if they wanted to buy some radishes. The glowing cat declared that the Baeksun beast representative in front of her had completely dry hair, and that she could immediately see that he was an unwanted commodity that definitely couldn't compare to her. Smart was deeply hurt by the words said to her. He couldn't believe that she even dared to say such a thing to him. Besides, since she was so sure of herself, he was suggesting that she solve everything through rock, paper, scissors. They were surprised at such a strange suggestion from Smart. Taking Smart in his arms and petting him a bit, Lin Yuan advised him not to get angry. Especially, he pointed out that Smart's plan to play rock, paper, scissors looked like a failure since the cat had paws. So he suggested we go for a walk. Still disgruntled, the cat asked what would happen to the store if they went for a walk and left it unattended. The guy was already closing up store, noting that it was okay, since they weren't doing well with their trade today anyway. Smart lit up at the idea, suggesting that the guy buy some meat today. He convinced himself that if he ate a few more pieces of pork, he would definitely get smarter. Then he certainly wouldn't lose to anyone. Soon they went for a walk. Flying beside them, Yin Yin advised Smart not to be sad. He noted that Smart may not be as smart as other Baishan beasts, but it cost much less than the others. Tears appeared in Smart's eyes as he felt that Yin Yin had only made things worse with his words. Closing his eyes, Lin Yuan sighed, for things could have been different if only he could sense spiritual energy. At this moment, Smart shouted for him to look to his left. Turning to his left, the guy noticed a dumb armored pig running at him. He couldn't understand why such a creature could appear near the park. The guy even speculated that something might have happened at the farm. Upon seeing the armor pig, Smart simply lost his mind. Saliva flowed from his mouth, and he tried to jump on Armor Pig with shining eyes. As he did so, he shouted that 50 tons of pork stew had arrived. However, Lin Yuan managed to intercept him, noting that Smart would not be able to defeat Armor Pig. Armor Pig glared at them in fury. Lin Yuan was surprised that the pig was furious. He knew very well that such Armor Pig were very gentle spiritual beings. Based on this logic, even Smart's behavior shouldn't have angered the pig. Therefore, the guy was completely unaware of what was even happening right now. The guy rushed to run away from the Armor Pig, but after a moment he felt tired. Today had exhausted him more than usual. Smart was worried about the guy's health, wondering if he was all right. Suddenly, Lin Yuan twisted his right leg. He immediately started falling on the pavement, causing the cat to be worried. Yin Yin assumed a fighting stance, promising to protect the guy. Smart also took an aggressive stance, intending to try the pork stew today. Lin Yuan tried not to lose consciousness and wanted to tell Smart and Yin Yin to flee. However, he suddenly noticed that everything around him was colored black and white. He was completely unaware of where he was and what was happening. At the same instant, he heard someone calling his name. Turning around, he noticed a giant bronze bracelet in front of him. He was surprised, even assuming it was the same bracelet. He had lost such a bronze bracelet when he was 8 years old. As soon as his blood touched the bronze bracelet disappeared. Suddenly, he felt the energy emanating from the bracelet descend upon him. He felt that spiritual energy that he hadn't been able to feel since he was 8 years old suddenly became palpable. In the same instant, he regained consciousness and tried to catch his breath, and a bronze wrist bracelet appeared on his right hand. No longer so formidable, but a frightened Smart ran past the guy, glad that he was awake. Yin Yin asked the guy to think of something faster. After all, at this moment, Armor Pig was already about to crush the frightened Smart. The guy hopelessly remarked that even with the bit of spiritual energy he had obtained, he still wouldn't have time to do anything. At this moment, his right eye shone with golden energy, and he looked at Armor Pig. Now he could see the information he needed about the creature in front of him. Spiritual creature name, unknown. Species, Armor Pig. Level, common level 3. Type, defense. Quality, common. Unfortunately, Smart and Yin Yin didn't even have level 1. Lin Yuan shouted for Smart to dodge as the pig would attack from the right. The frightened cat was still trying to fight for its life. The guy was well aware that almost nothing had changed for them in this battle, as the gap in the levels of his beasts against the pig was too big. Glancing at the bronze bracelet on his wrist, the guy mentally stated that he needed more strength. He hoped that if only the bronze bracelet was the spiritual being he had contracted with. Yin Yin tried to attack the pig with a sonic attack and told the pig not to touch Smart. At that moment, he noticed that the same light as from the bronze bracelet was coming from Yin Yin. He was surprised, assuming that maybe his beasts were about to evolve. The guy could only think that it was all because of the power emanating from the bronze bracelet. The pig at this point began to yell exhaustively. Smart didn't understand why the pig's voice was getting louder than Yin Yin's. However, Lin Yuan thought for the umpteenth time during this fight that everything was useless. Even if Smart and Yin Yin were on the verge of evolution, the gap between the first and third level was still too big. Therefore, the guy started to think about the pig's weaknesses. Smart and Yin Yin continued to frighteningly run away from the pig. Smart thought that the pig was too strong. Yin Yin asked Lin Yuan for help, as he didn't understand what they should do. Lin Yuan ordered him to start singing so that the pig would be distracted. In order to do this, Yin Yin must sing loud enough. Realizing the plan, Yin Yin decided to try what the guy told him and started chirping as loud as possible. Plugging his ears, the guy was glad that he had over 400 practice sessions before. The pig was simply furious. Yin Yin had angered the pig so much that it targeted him. Now trying to escape from the pig, Yin Yin was puzzled that did he really try to attack the pig just so Smart could take a break. The guy then ordered him to go back and attack the pig's eyes. Since according to his plan then, the pig would stop because it would go blind. Yin Yin decided to follow his advice, but suddenly noticed that he could no longer use anything. In the same instant, the guy fell to his knees and realized that his spiritual power had dried up. He was upset that his spiritual power had dried up at such an important moment. Looking at the bronze bracelet on his hand, he begged him to hold on a little longer. In the same instant, Yin Yin felt full of strength again, and a golden energy enveloped him. Yin Yin rushed towards the pig, and using a feather attack, he hit several feathers into the pig's eyes. Looking at the pig's confusion, Lin Yuan informed that Smart should now enter the battle. Interrupting his further words, Smart was already rushing into the fight, bouncing off Yin Yin's released feathers. He asked that the guy not to worry, after all, his name was Smart for a reason. Therefore, Smart knew exactly what was needed to attack the pig. While the pig was disoriented, Smart released his claws and struck the pig's nose several times with his claws. The pig then shook violently, and Smart flew off to the side. He was dizzy and disoriented, but wondered to the guy if they had managed to win. The guy assured him that they had won and that they were incredible and had done well. At the same moment, Lin Yuan started to fall down as he lost consciousness. Smart and Yin Yin were very scared seeing the guy in such a state. After a while, the wounded and enraged pig was running at full speed. The pig suddenly stopped in front of a man and a woman. The man admitted that he felt that something strange was happening. He couldn't understand where the armor pig could even come from in this place. The woman, however, took a closer look at the pig and was surprised. She noticed that there were bird feathers sticking out of the pig. The woman immediately assumed that they were most likely feathers from a bird that Lin Yuan had. The woman sadly asked Old Man Li to handle the situation by himself. She wanted to hurry up and find the guy as soon as possible. The old man agreed to her request. His eyes suddenly turned devilish. The old man summoned his pet and then apologized to his old friend for bothering him. Soon, Lin Yuan finally opened his eyes. However, he was actually still unconscious. He was a little surprised that he was once again in this strange place. It had been an unknown amount of time since he had first seen this space in his dream. Looking at the giant bronze bracelet, the guy stated that even though it was too late to say such a thing, he would still like to thank the bracelet for sharing his spiritual power with him at a critical moment. Looking around, the guy noticed that the whole place had an area of about 40 or 50 square meters. He even speculated that perhaps this inner space was the so-called inner space of the spiritual beast. Looking at the bronze bracelet on his arm, the guy wondered if this was the bracelet's ability. Looking at the bracelet, he noticed that the bracelet was called Mobius. Then he saw the rest of the information about the beast. Spirit beast species, unknown. Spirit beast level, ordinary grade, level 1. Spirit beast, quality, ordinary quality, spirit beast. Affinity, space, mystery. Skills, true data. Turns all complex things into data. Within the data may lie truths not discernible on the surface. Calm heart, passive skill, strengthens with the spirit beast's level, calms the mind, with some chance of resisting negative statuses. He remembered that he had already seen true data skill being used, so now he wondered if he could develop calm heart skill if he helped Yin Yin practice singing. Suddenly, he noticed that Mobius also had a unique trait. The guy was surprised, since the unique trait only appeared in beasts that were at bronze level, but had a unique trait already at normal level. He even began to wonder if it might be one of those divine treasures or a fantasy species. Unique trait. Spirit lock. 1. Mobius space can nurture spiritual beings. 2. The starting level of a spirit beast being nurtured in Mobius space cannot exceed the level of Mobius itself. 3rd, Mobius himself cannot raise his level in the normal way. His level will increase as the level of the spirit beings he nurtures increases. At the same time, he can gain the initial skills of the spirit creatures he is raising, but Mobius himself does not gain new skills as he raises his level. 4th, each time Mobius levels up, the number of spirit creatures he can raise increases by 1. The way Mobius increases his level remains the same. However, after reading the information, the guy found a weakness in this plan. Right now, he could only contract ordinary spirit beasts of the 1st level, which meant he needed to nurture them first before Mobius could level up. If he wanted to make another contract, he needed to nurture a level 1 spirit beast to evolution. That was level 10. Cultivating low-level spirit beasts was already costly, and under these conditions, even with a fortune, one could instantly go bankrupt. Besides, the guy was already poor and didn't have any fortune. Nevertheless, shaking his head, as if pushing away all negative thoughts, he decided that the current state of affairs was still better than getting nothing. At least now he could feel the spiritual power. Therefore, he felt that he now had hope that his future could change. Suddenly, he heard a woman's voice. The woman was asking the doctor why the guy was not regaining consciousness, although the doctor said that the guy was only suffering from nervous shock and symptoms of weakness. The woman was worried because the guy hadn't regained consciousness for half a day. The guy recognized the woman's voice. It was Aunt Jang. So after looking at his right hand, the guy decided that it was time for him to leave this strange place. After a moment, he opened his eyes. In the same second, he found that Smart and Yin Yin were trying to bring him to his senses and were very worried about his life. Lin Yuan crouched down and petted the cat. He informed them that he was fine. The guy noticed that Smart was so worried about him that he couldn't even speak properly. At that moment, Aunt Jang and a doctor entered the hospital room. The doctor pointed out that Aunt Jang was very worried about the guy, so in order to avoid any trouble, the doctor wanted to examine the guy. Lin Yuan reassured Aunt Jang and the doctor that there was no need to do so. However, Aunt Jang was very worried about him because he had been unconscious for almost 10 hours. She felt that if the guy was sick, he needed to be treated. Besides, she reminded him that a mild illness could turn into a severe one. After listening to her advice, the guy went back to bed. At that time, he also decided that even if Old Man Lee and Aunt Jang took care of him, he didn't want to tell them about Mobius yet. After that, the doctor summoned his spirit beast. The guy immediately began to consider the doctor's summoned beast, as he could finally feel the spiritual power. The doctor summoned a clear pond carp. Spirit beast species, carp family, carp genius. Level elite grade, level 4. Affinity water, quality ordinary quality. Skills, tail strike, jumps up and lashes with tail, scale. Cleanse, slightly heals mental wounds, can ease abnormal mental states. The guy was delighted because Clear Pond Carp was truly worthy of elite level in his opinion, as it had an incredibly rare skill. After a moment, the doctor informed the guy that he had no problems. He then informed that it was time for him to go, as his wife was expecting him home for dinner. The woman thanked the doctor for his help and that he had calmed her fears. At that moment, a spirit beast appeared in the doorway of the room with dinner. Aunt Jang held out the food to the guy. She confessed that Uncle Lee had prepared this food especially for him, and that Old Man Lee had endeavored to prepare a nutritious dinner for the guy. However, if the guy can choose not to eat this food if he doesn't want to, they overestimate the poor guy's ability to refuse food. The guy said with a smile on his face that he could hardly refuse the food that was prepared especially for him. Yin Yin was delighted by the smell when the guy opened the food. Smart was also enthusiastic when he saw the pork stew in there. The rabbit at this time sat down on Aunt Jang's legs, who was stroking it with her hand. After paying attention to the rabbit, the guy remembered that Uncle Lee's rabbit had always been quite mysterious, and it wasn't as agile as other rabbits. Therefore, he decided to take a look at the information about the rabbit. However, he couldn't get any information about the rabbit because all the information about the rabbit had question marks. The guy was even surprised when he saw the rabbit information had question marks all over it. However, he did get the information that the rabbit had two unique traits. In addition, he realized that the rabbit in front of him was not the terror rabbit as he had thought before. The journey of a guy named Lin Yuan into a world completely new to him is just beginning. Since the age of 8, he had lived the life of a complete failure. What's more, there was no light at the end of the tunnel in his life. He was lonely, his family situation was dire, and his shop was unprofitable. In a world full of spiritual beings, he felt no spiritual power at all. In short, the guy lived the life of a typical loser. The only thing he had were two beasts, Smart and Yin Yin, who were kind to him, just as he was to them. With the awakening of a bronze bracelet named Mobius, the guy's future became less bleak than before, and he and his spiritual beasts found at least a small glimmer of hope for a bright future. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you would like to see a sequel, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your wishes in the comments. You can also subscribe to Telegram to know about new videos. Bye everybody.